Welcome to the After Work Cook. And as you know, I'm trying to lose weight. I've only got 5 pounds to go. And anyway, I am going to start doing a special eating thing with my husband. He's had a little bit of issues and ended up getting 2 stents in his heart, and so we are doing what the doctor and the dietitian and everybody's recommended. We are doing the Mediterranean diet, and it's mostly what you can have, any kind of vegetable and fruit and like whole grains and beans, and so we're going to have a lot of that, fish, poultry, turkey, I guess chicken and turkey or poultry, but anyway, you can have that in moderation. You need to, from what we're reading, we probably need to do at least 1 meal a week where we don't have meat, and then you keep your red meats, which include even lean bison and elk and lean pork, loin. All of those can only be a couple of times a month, just in general, to kind of, you know, they have a pyramid and it's at the top. So anyway, tonight, one of the Mediterranean diet recipes I'm doing is a halibut, and it is, we've got it here, we've got the fresh basil. I'm going to have Brussels sprouts on the side. Here's our halibut. You can be really glad that you're not smelling it. And then of course you saute, well, actually I'm going to marinate it. So keep waiting, or I can't even talk tonight. Anyway, I'm going to put in some lemon and olive oil and garlic and then seasonings, and that's what it's going to marinate in while I get the rice. For the rice, I'm going to do, we have started doing brown rice, but we really like jasmine. So we found at Trader Joe's, they have a brown jasmine rice. So I'm going to put a little bit of shallot in that, and garlic, of course, and then some mushrooms. Before I get started, the first order of business is washing hands. I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm going to have to use some washing in between. So anyway, I'm going to use some balsamic vinegar with the Brussels sprouts, fresh basil. I am not sure if I need that in any, oh, that's probably going to go in the rice. This recipe calls for 6 cloves of garlic, but that's for 4 people, and it's only going to be my husband and I, so I'm going to do 3 and then cut down the olive oil to, instead of 3 tablespoons, I'm going to do 1.5. And let's see, it calls for, let's see, what am I doing? I'm doing about 1/4 cup of lemon. All right, so now we've got the smoked paprika. I did about 3/4 teaspoon. I did 3 good size cloves chopped up with some sea salt. I did about not quite a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, and I did about 1 teaspoon of dill and about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and then crushed chili peppers. And now I'm going to put the halibut in here and make sure it's all coated, and then I'm going to put it in the baking dish and set it aside while I do the Brussels sprouts. So I've got it all in the baking dish, and I'm going to cover this with saran wrap or whatever kind of wrap I got, and put it in the fridge until I get everything else ready. Before I move on, I need to chop up some parsley to put on top of the fish, just as I put it in, get it ready to throw in the oven. I'm going to put a bunch over the top and cook it. All right, so now I've got a bowl of, what I do is I take the bottoms off and then I cut them in half, and I'm going to use some balsamic vinegar. I'm going to use a little sea salt, a little pepper, and some Dijon mustard, and also some dry mustard. And I'm also going to use some, I've already used this, but probably the rest of my onion. It's a red onion. And then I'm going to cook it on 475 for 30 minutes. I forgot to say I was going to put 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil in it. Okay, so I put the mustard, ground mustard. I put about 1/2 teaspoon and about 1/2 teaspoon of regular Dijon mustard, and just salt and pepper to taste. I did 1 full tablespoon of vinegar. And now I'm going to bake it at 425 for about 15 minutes, because it actually takes 425 for 30 minutes. But my fish is going to be at 350 for about 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is cook this at the higher and then turn it down to finish cooking at the lower. Time for the rice. I brought it to a boil. I put the water in with a little bit of olive oil and some sea salt. And now it's going to come to a boil again, and then I will turn it down to simmer and simmer it for 25-30 minutes, something like that. But I'm also going to saute some mushrooms, onions, and garlic to put in it. Once they get softened up, I'll put them right in. Okay, in a small saute pan, I've got onion, garlic, and mushrooms. I'm going to put basil in it when these all get soft. Here's the parsley for the fish. I don't know what I was thinking. I put it on after. This is a garnished over all 3 of the fillets. The veggies are ready to go into the rice. So I'm just going to stir that in here. And then I'm going to put the basil in. I'm going to stir that up a little bit more and then let it cook for another probably 20 minutes, because that's what the fish is going to be cooking. It's been marinating all this time, so now it is time to go into the oven. We're going to cook it 20 minutes, and by that time the rice will be done and the Brussels sprouts. So the rice is done, and we're just waiting for the fish, about 2 more minutes. It's done.